Greetings everyone, and welcome to the AI World Summit 2020, organized by MyFinB Group. We'd like to thank you for attending this session today entitled Blockchain and AI: The Experience and Lessons by Practitioners and Adopters. Blockchain is going through a path of diffusion across industries such as media and healthcare, which is far beyond its initial FinTech applications. However, regulatory issues and intellectual property concerns emerged as the stumbling blocks of realizing blockchain's full potential. How are these being overcome? What is its strategic relationship with AI? This track looks at the strategies for deployment and types of ROI that can be expected. We are deeply honored today to have our panel of speakers from Singapore, India, Malaysia, and moderated by Charles Cheen. Charles is the Chief Executive Officer of AI Future Asia. Now I leave the digital stage to the moderator of this track to continue our session. Over to you, Charles, and enjoy the session.
Thank you. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and greetings from Singapore. Welcome to the AI World Summit Track 6, Blockchain and Artificial Intelligence. A big appreciation and thank you to Professor Nazri and his team in MyFinB for giving me this opportunity to participate in the event of the year. AI World Summit is indeed a truly global event, which I understood that the total of 26,000 of people who signed up for this event. I'm very impressed on how MyFinB's production team working around the clock and put this spectacular event together. The pandemic had made us reset into a new way of life and work in 2020. Technology plays a key role in this change. Blockchain and AI becomes a very important part of the way we work and live. In general, AI helps us to automate business process from the back office admin to financial activities, to get insight through data analytics, engaging with customers and employees. However, this is also a phase of growth where we also face with a lot of challenges of things like how are we going to overcome the implementation of artificial intelligence, what is the strategic relationship between blockchain and AI, where both are also the forefront of the technology today. And what needs to be done to see that there are more people who's going to adopt in this technology. And today, we will learn about the strategies for deployment and the types of ROI that can be expanded from which can be expected from our distinguished panel speakers on the experience and lessons by practitioners and adopters in blockchain and artificial intelligence. We are honored to have 5 high-powered panel speakers to share their experience and thoughts with us in today's event. The first speaker for today is a blockchain enthusiast and entrepreneur musing on the next big revolution since the internet. He's a veteran in technology services and finance industry. He is instrumental in several disruptive fintech technologies. He held various leadership positions in multinational companies like Hewlett-Packard with global responsibility. His passion for technology and innovation make him a forerunner in creating the business ecosystem of disruptive fintech and high-growth companies. As an entrepreneur and advisor, he led several startups from inception to exponential growth across continents. He was awarded Entrepreneur of the Year 2012 by Rotary Association of Small Medium Enterprise Singapore, Outstanding Entrepreneur Award 2011 by Asia Pacific Enterprise Awards, Spirit Enterprise 2010, Leading Indian Entrepreneur of the Year 2010 by the Singapore Indian Chamber of Commerce. He is also the champion of technopreneurship. He's also involved in mentoring program under Action Community for Entrepreneur by Spring Singapore. He earns a degree in computer application from India with first class honor. He hosts Advanced Master Management Program from NTU Berkeley, Haas Business School, California, the Wharton School, University of Penn, USA, specialized in finance. He obtained his MBA from Nanyang Technological University in Singapore and obtained his PhD on blockchain for impact in healthcare. He is the co-founder and serial entrepreneur of AFDEX Mauritius, CGCX Singapore, BCM Group Malaysia, Block Connectors Lab India, Bamboo Wellness Holdings Malaysia. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dr. Vin Menon. Over to you, Dr. Vin.
Thank you, Charles, for this wonderful introduction. So probably I will just take this opportunity to start my slides as well. Okay, so I need to start my slide. Yeah, okay, one second. Can you see my slide?
Not yet, Dr. Vin.
Not yet, yeah. Let me share my screen then. Is it clear?
Yes, it's project.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so good afternoon, good evening, good morning, everyone. My name is Vin Menon. I'm one of the serial entrepreneur as well as advisor to multiple blockchain businesses in this region. Now, I would like to start my presentation talking about what is blockchain and how we are viewing blockchain as. So for me, blockchain is going to be the next internet. So I am strongly advocating this one statement, which I've been using for the last 4 or 5 years. And I can see that things are transforming towards becoming the next internet. So when the data moved up, then we had internet layer. And then once it is moving up, we are having the decentralization layer, which is the blockchain. Now, there are many more layers to come up on top of that to make blockchain much more powerful and stronger. But anyway, at this current stage, yes, we can strongly say that it is going to be the next internet. So this is about me. Charles already introduced some of these. Okay, so let me summarize what I'm going to present today. Number one, I would like to revisit the history of technology before .com and what happened after .com. Number two, how this post.com bubble or the burst mimic the history to predict future of blockchain and what is happening within the blockchain space. Then I'm going to take you guys through a regulated space of blockchain activities, which is quite hot right now, called CBDC, central bank digital currencies. Then I'm just giving you my 2 cents worth of advice to you that what is net you and why you should jump into this bandwagon. Okay.
Hi, Dr. Vin. Sorry
Yes.
to interrupt. Your video camera is currently blocked.
Okay, because I'm actually presenting from my other screen.
Okay, okay.
Do you have the deck you can actually present from? Now it is clear. Oh yeah, you have the deck here, right? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, I can play it from here. My video is clear now? Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Okay, so when we are revisiting the history of technology, we are talking about since 1930s, you know, when we first launched the chip SMD devices, then the communication protocols, it started coming over the period of time where 90s, we started having our first layer on internet. Then late 90s, where we started creating a lot of web-based businesses. And this entire economy peaked to the level of close to 6.5 to $7 trillion in 2000. And we have seen a huge crash, which actually wiped off close to 80% of the wealth created during that time, market created during that time. And it started coming all the way and started picking up. It gone through the correction. Then somewhere around 2007-8, again, it got into a dip because of other economic condition. But you can see that since 2011, this whole technology, there's a new wave of technology companies formed up and started doing very well, especially the next revolution of internet. So that is the age where we have seen, let's say, talking about since 90s all the way to 2017. Now, I want to take you through this whole cycle, and this history is repeated even in the blockchain revolution. So this revolution I consider as internet revolution. Can you just move to the next slide, please? All right. So this is the diagram of what happened during that 2000s, right? So somewhere around March 2000, it was an all-time high for NASDAQ at that time. Then it crashed around 75–80% value. Then we saw around 2002, October 9th, the lowest dip in the market. So this is just to give you an idea that how these technology companies, which was close to 7 trillion market cap, crashed within a span of like 2 years. Now, can you change the slide, please? Yeah. Okay. So during this process, what happened after 2000? So we have seen that there are a lot of digital transformation happen during this time, whether it is on the public projects or the private projects, moved from enterprise licenses to ASP, application service provider licensing model. Then slowly that moved into software as a service. So it is no longer the heavy millions of dollars worth of licenses to be paid, but rather pay in a user-based subscription model. Then we have seen a lot of startups fail. Then we have also seen a separate pressure on economy and finance-led digitalization. Then we also seen the FinTech or the economical infrastructure on digital payments started picking up. Then also seen the government initiatives around how these infrastructure can be integrated into day-to-day life. We also seen that there's a lot of legal framework building up across the technology. Then we also seen that there's a huge demand of software technologies or the engineers or the experts, subject matter expert in this. The next slide, please. Right. So just to give you a snapshot of few tech companies before 2000 and after 2000. So if you look at before 2000, it was pretty much traditional businesses, slightly slowly moving into technology. Of course, Microsoft being the number one, Microsoft, Cisco, GE. And when we are talking about now, after 2000, it is still, Microsoft is one of the leading indicator here. But we can see that pretty much all the technology stocks holding most of these positions. So this is just to give you a snapshot of what happened before and after 2000. Next slide, please. Yeah. So I'm talking about the next wave, which is blockchain revolution. Let me take you through that. So this started from 2009 when Bitcoin was first launched. Nobody knows what, but what we know is the first block of Bitcoin, which is still untouched. Now, we are talking about here, started creating a couple of new cryptocurrencies from the blockchain perspective. So Bitcoin or any of these cryptocurrencies are a small application on top of blockchain. So blockchain itself is a very strong infrastructure, a decentralization technology, which can change the lives in upcoming years. So then we started seeing smart contracts coming up in blockchain. Then we saw a peak, close to $1 trillion economy popped up from nowhere, somewhere around 2017 and 2018 early. Then what happened? It gone through a correction. It is literally lost value roughly 75–80% during 2018–2019. And then we started seeing things are picking up. Now, if you look at it, yesterday was like a historical moment for Bitcoin, where it touched the all-time high ever, close to 20,000, I believe. Now, this is where we are talking about. We are living in the right period of blockchain revolution. So from 2020 to 2025, I'm envisaging that it is going to be the next big wave of technology. All this, the corrections have happened. The real business started picking up. It is not only cryptocurrency per se, but it is also blockchain-based businesses, which is creating additional value to the user community. And if you compare this with the history, what happened in 2000, it is pretty much the same things happen. Now it is a time for next 10 years for us to go through that. Next slide, please. Yes, the future of DLT. Yes, we have seen a lot of tech startups coming up. There is another ecosystem of blockchain startups coming up. Now there is a economics and the finance will start moving into blockchain because of the immutable as a property and decentralized, also providing transparency. So then there are a lot of national central banks, national cryptocurrencies are coming into the picture. That is actually going to increase the adoption of cryptocurrency as well as blockchain. Blockchain services started integrating into government agencies. Blockchain engineers are highly in demand right now. All those who belongs to the technology, we all understand that. The legal things are started integrating into smart contracts. So this is where, the same trend happened in 2000 is repeating here again. So we are riding that trend, and this is the way to go moving forward, at least for next 5 to 10 years, before any other new trends comes and revolutionize. Next. Okay, so just I'm going to take you through shortly through the government adopting blockchain. Number one, we are talking about Estonia. Pretty much all the government agencies are on blockchain right now. We all know, we are very well aware of Project 2Win from Singapore. It's under MAS, and it is basically with cross-border payment services, which is successfully implemented with few partners. Right now, it is rolling out aggressively on other initiatives. The third country which I'm talking about is UAE, where a lot of government services are, almost all the government services are in blockchain right now. Next, please. So this is actually one of a very interesting diagram which I saw from PwC. So I thought like it will be very interesting for us to share a bit on there. This is how the different types of central bank digital currencies are going to play. So it is going to be hybrid model, which we are going to use, or which we are seeing in China, USA, etc. Then there is national, then there is cross-border. So pretty much this gives a snapshot about how these central bank digital currencies are trying to play and what are the specializations, what are the verticals they are focusing on. Next, please. So this is the the roadmap of early adopters. Roughly, I remember starting from Barbados in 2018. It was a very small, geographically, it's a very small um, area to cover. So it was much easier to deploy. Then we started seeing MAS rolling out some of these services on the side, Project Jasper and all. Then we saw Bank of England moving with, then Royal Bank of Canada. Then in 2019, we saw Central Bank of China moving in. Then French government moving into that. So overall, we are seeing that all these governments started adopting blockchain and also a national cryptocurrency for either cross-border services or within the local regulatory purposes or local consumptions. But still, all these central banks started seeing blockchain as a powerful tool to roll out their digital currency vision. So going to the next slide. Yeah, so we have seen that this is since the outbreak of 2020, COVID-19, China aggressively went into put digital yuan as one of the top priority. Then we have seen that digital dollars started talking about it in the US. So pretty much all the matured governments started looking into this as one of the most powerful tool to roll out to their citizens or globally. So Korea, Japan, France, European Central Bank, etc. A lot of initiatives, especially after COVID, they started going. But at the same time, the most interesting part is we also are seeing a lot of multinational companies like Facebook formed a foundation to launch Libra. Then there are other organizations, private institutions, financial institutions started moving into their own version of cryptocurrency, whether it can be public or private, that doesn't matter, but they're still doing some sort of contribution towards the blockchain. And you will see that, JP Morgan is coming up now, Mitsuo Bank is already coming up. There are many other financial institutions, top leading financial institutions started coming out in the same way. Facebook, Libra being the top runner on that. Next. Okay, so what we should do or you should do right now, it is moving into mainstream. We all strongly believe that it is, and especially COVID and the pandemic really changed the way which doing business, and that new normal without a digital currency and a secure digital currency, which is on cryptography based or blockchain based, became the norm, and it is moving into mainstream. So as quick as possible, develop skills on this, start understanding what we can do. And it is not like something which you have to really pay huge millions of dollars for license, it is open source. Is how we can. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Min, for the very good, insightful from your personal experience in blockchain technology and the cryptocurrency. That is a hot topic that people talk about. As somebody in the technology, perhaps from the panel, later on we can share about what is your personal experience in this disruptive technology with blockchain and AI combined together in a real life example. Yes, and we will discuss on that. And we will also like to explore why and how blockchain and AI can be incorporated in a new business model in this new normal. So that will be point of discussion that I like everybody to have this in your thoughts. And now I'd like to introduce the second speaker for today. The second speaker for today is the founder and the CEO of a technology-focused company in digital technology solution development and digital ecosystem, which include blockchain, cloud technology, and Internet of Things. He has 3 decades of technology experience across US, Europe, and Asia Pacific, working for global technology companies like Oracle, VMware, TIBCO, and RealWorks. He was recently managing and operating one of the largest FinTech platform and IT infrastructure company in China, working with open source, commercial, and proprietary technologies. As a technology leader and architect, he was named one of the China IT premier leaders for digital transformation in 2018. He was named the top 10 excellent cases of 2018 in FinTech data platform. He was awarded the Cloud Computing Big Data Innovative Enterprise Award at the China Cloud Computing Conference 2018. He was awarded the first China Blockchain Technology Development Contest with Tianxi Blockchain Music Property Blockchain Application in 2017. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me to welcome the CEO and the founder of CENS Private Limited, Mr. Chuck Lee.
Hi, thank you. Thanks for the introduction. I would like to share my screen. Just give me a second. Okay. So what I would do is say, thanks for the introduction and good afternoon or good evening, everyone. Welcome to this exciting AI World Summit. Today, what I'm going to do is I will just bring you to what we were going to, what the company does and why we try to bring this whole blockchain technology into the space. Okay. As Charles mentioned, can you see the slide? Okay. I have basically is working
Mr.
with
Liming Chuck, your slides appear blur. Can you try to reshare screen?
Reshare screen. Sorry, yeah. Let me do that. How is it now?
It still remains blurred.
Oh, okay.
I will take over the screen right now. Mr. Lee, you can continue with the presentation.
Okay. Just give me a second. All right. Can I use the slide because there's a video behind it? Okay. Anyway, okay. So basically, it's like we are actually in the area of digital technology development. Basically, the company have been around 2003, where we have been doing a lot of consulting works until I focus a lot more on the development work in 2014, which I have a venture in China. And that's why I think Dr. Chin had mentioned quite a lot of the work we have done in China. So I was back here in 2019, which I started another venture in Malaysia and Singapore. Right, essentially, this is where the Send Digitals, was all about, where we are developing a next generation of blockchain platform for real estate digitization. So basically, we are combining a real estate asset, digital technology, and capitals, and then we group them together and providing the next generation of platforms or offerings in this space. So in summary, we can call that is real estate fintech, but basing on a digital platform on blockchain. Coming on board, we have years experience coming from the construction technology, coming from the technology side, where we combine our team to actually build the platform. We hope to launch it in next year. Okay, next slide, please. Hello. Okay. Can I share again? Okay. So as I mentioned here, I was in China. Basically, I ran one of the largest peer-to-peer lending platform for the last 4 or 5 years before I came back to South Asia. Platform itself have got 60,000, 600,000 online offline borrower, where we do the kind of the matching. So this is where I gain a lot of experience in terms of how to use digital technologies, whether it's blockchain, AI, a cloud, to enable all these services. All right. Essentially, I have a team of about 400 developer architect to supporting this particular platform. So when I'm back here, basically, it's like we are venturing into the real estate area. So where I brought in the expertise and experience in the built environment, where we want to actually use the digital technology that we had learned or we had experienced from China and bring it back here and combine to the real estate sector. Okay. So in all, these are the kind of the team experience we have. All right, next slide, please. Okay. So what we're trying to do is as I mentioned here, is we are taking on a real estate sector where we look into all those assets where we can think that we're going to turn it into more valuable, unlock all those assets using digital technologies. All right. Started off, we are looking into blockchain. All right. As we move along, we will actually combine blockchain with AI or even with the immersive technology and so forth. There's a lot of these new technologies already available for us to actually apply, to the real estate asset. And on the left-hand side, this is where we see that the innovation come in, where we're going to digitize the asset and how you actually going to, move the asset into something that we could actually trade or we can actually raise fund. So this is where the sharing economies, the service matching come about. Okay, so basically we are combining technology and traditional asset, and we provide innovation on top of that. Okay. Okay, next one. So our key strategy is looking into, what we call the offline to online. So in other words, we look at to the left-hand side, this is where we see the offline traditional asset where you can look into, could be a, retail, shopping mall, or could be a commercial property like, for example, factory, logistic, and so forth. Right. Or no, I think the whole class of what we call an asset that we can actually digitize, to form a new asset class that we could actually put into a digital platform where we can make it available, whether it being it to the raise fund, whether it's going to be able to transact, which we want to use it, use our platform to do that. So basically, we want to bring it into what we call the online B2C and combining with the offline B2B. So this is where we are looking into, the next generation of service offering we try to launch. Okay, next one, please. Now, how do we do that? Okay, basically, as you mentioned, okay, can you flash back to the last one? Yeah. So basically, how we do that, basically, when we are actually having our venture in Malaysia, we are holding quite a number of parcels of land where we look into doing developments on top of that. So basically with this traditional asset, whether it's going to be land or other things, all right, we want to look into this so-called asset enhancement using digital technologies, okay? In this way, we're looking into using maybe a raw land or, other type of property where we can actually bring all this asset into the online platform. All right. Next one, please. Okay. So basically it's like now, how we actually make this thing into reality. Basically it's like we have the asset, we have the technology, and we need to have a place to start off, right? So with that, our venture in Malaysia called Send Digital, right? We are very fortunate, be able to actually select and work together with one of the district in Johor, Malaysia, right? Be able to actually look into the whole township development and do economic development next week. Okay, next slide, please. Okay. So essentially what we try to do is we look into what are the next generation of growth for a township or, or sometimes, you call that a city, all right? But we want to look into a smaller footprint to start off, right? So essentially what we try to do is like we are combining what are the key development within the township itself, whether it's going to be a municipality like government or logistic, housing and so forth. And within that, we build a digital layer using a blockchain technology, okay? And sometimes they call this term what we call programmable city or smart city, okay? So within that, you know, we are using the blockchain technology to link, you know, all these assets together. And then we are using the blockchain to be able to transact, whether it's going to be a registration of land, registration of real estate, or even when you want to actually going to be able to transact, buy and sell the real estate, you know, it will be able to run on our blockchain network. Okay, so on the right hand side, we also introduce digital infrastructure. In this case, you know, data center, you know, the cloud data center, you know, will be actually start introducing into supporting all those digital infrastructure. So basically, you know, we're taking on, you know, actual a piece of economic development using digital technologies, you know, to be able to bring it to the market. Okay, so how do we do that? Okay, basically it's like, yes, you know, we're looking into the real estate. Okay, essentially, you know, we want to digitize the real estate. Okay, so where this is where blockchain come about, where we take on a piece of traditional asset and we go into a cycle, what we call real estate asset tokenization. Okay, so we'll be able to take an asset, be able to tag it so that it become a piece of digital asset within the online sector. Okay, and after that we go into the notion of where we look into what we look into the breaking out the asset down to be into smaller pieces to be able to ready available to all the different investors. All right. Okay, next one, please. Okay. Right. Here, what we are really looking at is like, you know, a piece of property. Basically, is like whether it's going to be a land or going to be a government township or a, you know, or a factory. So that actually have got certain type of title where we're going to be able to, you know, take the title, be able to digitize it using the blockchain. And then within that, you know, we translate the those titles into a security. This is where the blockchain come in place, right? Where we're actually going to issue a certificates, you know, using a blockchain. Once we issue it into the blockchain itself, it will be logged into the ledger, the blockchain ledger. Basically, it's like, you know, we were able to say that, okay, this particular land or this particular unit of technologies, title itself belong to who and who. Okay, so in that case, you know, we can do quite a lot of things, right? Of course, behind it, there's a list of technology we're introducing. We're looking to traditionally, where we're looking to like blockchain infrastructure and how to turn that particular blockchain so-called asset into something that is usable by the user. In this case, we'll have development tool, you know, to do that. Okay, so this is where the whole suite of blockchain technology, we are, you know, using it to actually digitize the whole entire real estate. Okay. Next one, please. Okay. So basically, it's like once we're able to digitize, or sometimes we call tokenize it, all right, then we want to say that, hey, you know, these particular assets should be made available through the different so-called user or investor, all right? So we want to break down into what we call bit size, all right, to be ready available. So it become a financial product. Okay, in that way. So basically, whether it's going to be a equity or it's going to be a debt, you know, depends on the type of property that people are looking to do. So we will look into like potentially take that particular asset and to break it into smaller pieces, okay, and be able to issue it into the primary market so that people can actually invest into it. So you can think about it as like almost like a REIT investment, but basically it's a lot more cheaper and you know, or cost effective to do the transaction using this way. And within that, there's a potential can also flow into a secondary market, basically go into exchange where people, you know, to reach a wider audience. So basically we securitize it and be able to, you know, make it available as a type of different product offering. Okay, next slide. So this is where I think we also bring into our own differentiation. Basically, once we be able to take on those assets that how do we make it available not just to a big investor or institutional investor, all right? Basically, we're looking into how to actually make it available to the retail sector. So what we are actually launching is a platform that kind of available to to everyone. Okay, basically you can think about it is like a mobile apps that you can actually take it on to be able to invest with few $100 to few $100,000. Be able to actually own a piece of real estate. But those real estate is be tokenized or digitized within that. Okay, at the same time, we also want to take the opportunity using this particular platform, be able to actually make the facility available to borrower, or what we call the fund requirement. All right, basically, if you have a piece of the asset, you might want to think about a way to actually raise further funding for development. So this is another opportunity we can actually make it through this type of platform to be able to match the borrower and the fund requirement to the investor, all right, using underneath is a blockchain platform to do that. Okay, next one, please. Okay, so this is where we looking into build up the whole entire foundation, okay, based on the blockchain platform. And the blockchain itself, it serves as a way to be able to link into all the different assets, whether it's a traditional real estate, okay, or a digital technologies where we can link into a payment system, or eventually some of these real estate itself will have facility management and things like that. So within that, where we actually have all those things and put inside the entire platform, we provide end-to-end, of the asset class registration, transaction matching, calculation, payment, and also risk management. Okay, so those are the things, the functionality that is within, we will build within the platform itself. And on top of that, we want to actually be able to make it available to all the different users. So basically, it's going to be a portal where people can log in to be able to transact, or it's going to be a mobile. Okay, eventually also want to make it available to the social media as well. So basically, with that, we hope that this particular blockchain services kind of make quite available to all the different audience. Next slide, please. Okay, so that pretty much conclude into what we're looking to do. Okay, using a blockchain technology, or blockchain platform to actually digitize a very traditional sector, real estate sector. And we have our own asset to start off. And we do have the opportunity to look into one of the pilot or township development where we can apply. And secondly, is we also have the ability to work with the state governments to be able to support with the different policy. So there's something that they were quite fortunate to have. But I guess from our end, is we're actually looking into using the different technologies to offering the financial service to the different audience and so forth, right? Our platform will be neutral and collaborative. We are welcome to actually other partners to come in to collaborate with us in the whole of this digital ecosystem. Lastly, of course, we also bring in new innovation. Basically, it's based on the year of technology, we look into the experience, the FinTech. We are bringing in the FinTech marketplace for real estate. Basically, it's where we look into taking on the traditional digital asset, real estate asset become a digital asset. And we also want to bring in a new generation of apps. Okay, basically, you can think about it, it's this is like the super apps, things like whether it's super app, or this type of environment where you can link all the different assets or service together. And also lastly, basically, we are looking into this platform to actually help whether it's a traditional sector, basically digital enable them, so that it can reach out to a wider audience. Okay, that's all from my side. Thank you. You are muted. Charles, you are muted.
Charles, you're
Yeah,
muted.
thank you, Mr. Chuck. Thank you for a great, insightful presentation about how you use blockchain as a new technology to build a new asset class. And we will come back into a discussion later to talk more about real estate, how is it connected to blockchain and AI in more detail. The third speaker for today is a very interesting individual. I read about his biography. He was interviewed by the media, and he started very young with no computer. Today, he is a multi-talented individual. He has more than 22 years of experience in helping startup entrepreneurs and government globally to solve problems using entrepreneurship, technology, and innovation. He is an international public speaker, keynote speaker, panelist, and jury member, serial entrepreneur, angel investor, business matching expert, government advisor, an artist, an author, a community builder since 2010. He's a game programmer since 1988, from legacy to the latest game engine when nobody does game. Virtual reality specialist since 2006, AI evangelist since 2002, a blockchain specialist since 2018 in FinTech, crypto, and health tech. He's also a startup mentor, an ex-honorary secretary of TIE Kolkata, India, IT subcommittee member, Confederation of Indian Industry, and also a business scalability expert in finance, technology, and growth. And he specialized in international business development, business strategy, market entry, virtual reality, new market development, new technology, artificial intelligence, risk management, deep tech, system and process fundraising. And he is a globetrotter. He has traveled more than 36 countries to date, and with 56 countries business network. And he is awarded as the top-rated global business leader, a celebrated speaker, top influencer, blockchain specialist, and virtual reality specialist, and a thought leader. He is India one of the first game development company, a virtual reality app development company since 1998. He served as a consultant for Asian Development Bank, Senator of World Business Angel Investment Forum, a star mentor of change at Niti Aayog, member of the mentor board in various universities around the world. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Arijit.
My pleasure, my honor. I'm really happy to see my co-panelist and of course, Mr. Charles. And I'm really honored that MyFinB actually gave me the platform to share a couple of thoughts. So I'll go impromptu. Probably I'm not going to touch upon the theoretical part. Rather, I'll be touching upon few of the aspects which has been probably touched upon using AI and blockchain both. So let me touch upon the healthcare industry. Nowadays, if we look at the healthcare industry, during the pandemic and before the pandemic, there are two different kind of era. Everybody's talking about the same. So when you look at the remote connected healthcare system, nowadays there are devices which has been developed by multiple number of people, multiple number of scientists across the world, which can actually serve humanity better. Let me take few of those examples and then let me describe how things are connected with blockchain, AI, and maybe with robotics, which will probably give a different perspective to all the audience. If you think of, say, for an example, there is a person maybe sitting in different part of the world, maybe in Kerala, in India, and he has got a trauma. And all of a sudden, a connected device is actually giving him a very basic level of treatment. And the treatment is given by a machine which is integrated with different kind of machine learning, which enhances its knowledge about what kind of basic trauma treatment can be given. Now, when you look at those kind of systems, those kind of robots, which is giving you enhanced mechanism to solve humankind, maybe a very basic kind of healthcare system, there are two different kind of concept. One kind of concept is it risky? Is it okay to get such kind of solution from robots? Is it fine? Are they safe? Second kind of opinion is, come on, okay, fine. Technology has been evolved so much that we have a decentralized system which can actually give a lot of ping to this robot. And the backend mechanism of this particular device can actually give him information on a machine learning method, and it can understand and detect the humankind, whether and which kind of treatment he or she needs. Now, those information are actually put inside a normal usual machine system, and the machine system is coded in such a way that you can actually give information to the robot that, okay, fine, maybe the person has got a basic trauma, and these are the kind of solutions that you can have. Now, when you go through those kind of beyond mechanism system, the centralized system gives an artificial neural system which can actually detect humankind. Let me give you another example. During this COVID time, I know from a company based out of Denmark who developed a very basic solution, and there is an AI engine which works in the back end. What it does, if you put your mobile camera and if you scan your face, it can actually understand, do you have a fever or do you have a cough and cold or not? It can actually detect your skin color, your body temperature, your retina scanning, and it can give you a basic prevention whether you are infected by COVID or not. And that was an amazing solution. It easily gives you instant result whether you are maybe affected by flu or cough and cold, or maybe you have some fever. And if you have that, can you go to the nearby store and can have the basic level of prevention? Can you have basic kind of medicines or not? Now, when you listen to all these kind of two different kind of solution, the question remains, how accurate are these? If we go deep into technology, all these systems are actually coded with a very specific sophisticated software. Those software are actually allowing us to understand whether the information is correct. There are multiple number of algorithms that works in the backend. All those algorithms are actually co-powered by centralized and decentralized, both kind of technologies. Here comes the blockchain. So the security part of every human being is actually protected by the system itself. But when you look at the interconnected system, which is giving you a solution by detecting maybe your skin color, maybe your heat, maybe your eyes, or probably your skin tone, it is actually understanding whether the person is actually affected or not. You don't really need to cross-check your blood. Before cross-checking it, it can detect, understand, and actually powered enough to give you such kind of solution. So blockchain nowadays, we look at banking perspective, is giving a lot of solution, lot of money transfer solution. It takes a couple of milliseconds to probably transfer a fund from one location to another location. It gives you security. It gives you an enhanced system which can actually detect, understand, and move your money in a very secure way. So if you look at the possibilities of blockchain technology, if the possibilities of AI, it's immense. It's like huge. It's huge possibility which can actually detect humankind with a lot of different possibilities. Let me give you another example. If I'm not wrong, if I remember it correctly, in Israel, there is a technology company who practically invented an innovative solution for agri-tech. It can detect, understand all the crops which is there in the field, and understand the time zone, horizon, the kind of treatment it needs, and when is the time of harvest. And if there is a time of harvest, what is the best possible solution that we can give? Probably detect the nearby machine, harvest it, and go beyond towards that. All these kind of mechanisms are nowadays being done through a very sophisticated usual common term called AI. Now, AI is like with us. we have a neural system and humankind is trying to make a different mechanized neural system. And that's the future. And we are going towards that future very, very soon. I can probably take an example from Dr. Menon. Excellent presentation about cryptocurrency. If we look at the crypto world nowadays, it's amazing. I mean, things are happening in a very decent and very sophisticated way. Well, there will be some kind of issues. There will be, of course, a group of people who will probably say that, okay, fine, let us take some advantage of this technology and maybe do some kind of different nuisance. But if we skip those parts, if we look at the crypto ATM nowadays, that's going to be the future. If you look at the kind of rules and regulation which has been enhanced in European countries and a couple of Asian countries, that's remarkable. If we look at US, if we look at Europe and fewer part of the Asia, we are going towards a very sophisticated, usual, decentralized, secure system. And I believe, firmly believe, with the combination of all those new technology which came up, like virtual reality, augmented reality, blockchain, AI, machine learning, these are going to be interconnected very soon, and we are going to have a very smooth and very usual, happy life. And probably will be with those machines where probably will simplify human life with machine learning, coding, and I'm sure the next generation, I can see those kids who are actually doing nowadays coding on AI with AI engine. We are going to have a lot of different small solutions, and we'll have pop-up startups will probably solve very different usual common case in humankind.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, thank you, Abhijit, for sharing and very good information and examples given on the blockchain and the latest technology. And the next speaker that we have has more than 12 years experience in technical architecture, the development of telecoms, enterprise resource planning, data science, blockchain, and artificial intelligence. As a technologist, he served in various senior technology roles in several leading organizations in a multitude of countries, including US, UK, Singapore, India, Malaysia, Kenya, and Oman. He had successfully led various startups in adopting cutting-edge technologies, enabling them to transform digitally. His experience is focused on future-proofing businesses by adopting new technologies like blockchain, distributed ledger, and artificial intelligence application, especially in the banking, finance, and insurance sector. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Chief Product Architect from FinTech Malaysia, Mr. Sricharan Kunatok. Over to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the introduction, and I'm so happy to be in this panel today. And there was a lot of data shared from various panelists today, and I was quite impressed with all their experience and with all their various inputs what they've given. So I would like to, I understand that we are running out of time, so I'd like to keep it short. I'll just share my screen with just a small presentation. All right, so thank you guys. Thank you so much for this opportunity. And I would like to thank my previous panelists who have presented their views about blockchain and AI. And I would like to give a small introduction about what we do as FinTech, and also take you through how we have successfully got blockchain and AI to work together in one of our latest projects, which we did for a company in Kenya, where we are the partners as well. So guys, are you able to see my presentation?
Yes, we can see it. I can see it.
All right, okay. So Fintera started in 2017, and I was one of the starting members of this company. And we specially focus on using blockchain and AI for Islamic social finance products, or in totality, Islamic finance products. So we specialize in banking systems, we specialize in FinTech, and we specialize in using or bringing blockchain and AI into this spaces. So we have our headquarters is in Singapore, and our R&D center is in Kuala Lumpur, and where I'm based out. And we have a lot of other sales offices in Dubai, in US, in Hong Kong, and also uh, in Oman. So these are the countries where in which we are situated at the moment, and this is where we work very closely with governments and have moreover all the other banks which are involved in that country. And a little bit about myself: I'm the Chief Product Architect and the CTO of Fintera Technologies, and I have more than 14 years of experience, and I have had a couple of companies which have floated in the past few years, and which have sold them at a much later stage, and one of them I've taken public. Apart from that, I specialize in various domains like telecom, whether it's in AI and supply chain, and most of the fintech products is what we work with most usually. So this is our product portfolio, which is we presently have. By no way means is it roadmap, but it's just our products what we have right now. We spend a lot of time in making all these products Islamic. So all of these products, what you see here, are Islamic in terms of whether it's a supply chain solution, whether it's an exchange platform, whether it's a wallet, whether it's remittance, whether it is a microfinance or a macrofinance, or all these kind of fintech products we do specifically for Islamic banks and for Islamic institutions. So when we say blockchain and AI, in my view, or in view of our company, what does blockchain bring into fintech? Because we always deal with the problem statement. We look at what is the business what we are looking at, and from there we take into consideration how a particular technology can help us. So for us in fintech, what does blockchain mean? So blockchain means few of the services which we can offer to our users based on the technology. So because of the blockchain, we can make remittance much quicker. We can make remittance, we can bypass many of the present ways in which remittance is done. We can maintain a digital identity on the blockchain for every user. And we do a lot of work with KYC and AML, especially using blockchain and AI to understand KYC, meaning your know your customer, and AML is anti-money laundering. So we have a real-time anti-money laundering, which we use AI and blockchain to enable us to do that. And we issue securities like what we spoke about, the real estate issuance. So we have security issuance, whether it is for real estate, whether it is for company security, or whether it is shares as security, and so forth. And even asset security we do. And we have a complete solution even for the exchange of these assets, and in different forms and ways in which we can exchange these assets. Also, we have we use blockchain for asset registry and fraud detection, especially when it comes to KYC, AML, and all these fintech products. We spend a lot of time in understanding how we can detect fraud in these transactions. Also, there is a lot of problem in typical fintech industry when it comes to Islamic fintech, and especially when it comes to a body like a Sharia board sitting somewhere, which needs to look at your product offering to understand and say that, okay, this is fine, this is not fine, and henceforth. So what we do is we have produced a layer on top of blockchain, where we can securely give this data only and only to the Sharia board, where they can access a very limited data to make this decision and give agreement whether this is possible, whether we can use it as a Sharia compliant Islamic product or not using as a Sharia compliant Islamic product. So before we introduce this platform, usually Sharia board takes about 1 week to come up with an answer in terms of like whether you can float this idea or no. But now we can do it like within few milliseconds. And blockchain being a trustless network, we could completely eliminate the requirement of having a central authority. So now people can exchange assets, like whether it's money, whether it is a share or a bond, we can exchange assets peer to peer. You don't need a central authority. And also from the asset management on a blockchain, we've moved slightly into collateral management, where whatever collateral people produce or give in terms of their to get their loans and etc. are managed on a blockchain. And even our credit rating, we use credit rating and identity management on the blockchain. So that helps us kind of like get them together and use them together. From the AI perspective, what does it help? Especially credit scoring, where we use a lot of AI, artificial neural networks and recurrent neural networks to understand the behavior of the user, and based on that, give him a credit scoring. And AI also helps us with direct lending. We can understand the person, like say, for instance, I'm not sure how many of you have used this service where you take a picture of you with an ID next to you. So this one enables us to match it with the digital identity on the blockchain. At the same time, we use facial recognition to understand that the user and the ID is of the same person, and also the data within the ID. So this helps us do things in milliseconds where it takes a lot of time usually to do it. And especially in terms of compliance and AML area, we heavily depend on smart contracts, and where the intelligence or the contract is there in multiple places, and it can be used to see that every user complies with the compliance standards and there is no money laundering activities happening. So that also brings us to the point where we use our AI network to also detect fraud. And of late for Qatar, we have used AI and blockchain to do the wealth management, especially to do something called as portfolio management and portfolio rebalancing, where based on the market state, we can rebalance their investments so that they can make maximum profit out of it. At the same time, we have used AI to kind of do facial payments, meaning that instead of using your PIN or wallet QR code or anything like that, we can now directly use your face to transfer the payments. And one of the biggest achievements we have had in the past year is we have created a complete framework for advisory on financial products. So imagine yourself, you go onto a platform where you want to invest and you want to know what is best for you. How much can you, how much do you think is a right amount of investment based on your salary, based on your present financial situation? Where can you save money? Where can you make more money? All this, imagine if a bot can tell you that, okay, do this, do that, and that will help you make more money with your investments. That's what AI advisory framework has done for us. Now, I'm diving straight to the point. So in the past 4 months, we have launched a product called Hull Capital, which is Islamic supply chain lending product. So this is where we used all the previous mentioned platforms to enable us to easily marry the AI and the blockchain technology. Because many people, the way in a very simplistic terms, if you look at internet today, internet is storage of data. So data is stored in different place, or knowledge is stored in different place. You can access it. That becomes your normal internet. Now, when Bitcoin came in early days of blockchain, that determined or created a new internet of value, meaning now value can be in a distributed network. But now where we are moving is, we are moving where intelligence is there in the distributed network. So all your smart contracts, whether it is the on-chain code or the off-chain code, meaning the code which is written on the chain or off the chain, any intelligence which is distributed is what is the future as we see it today. So when it comes to compliance, KYC, AML, all this kind of fraud detection and understanding the behavior of the user, now we no longer do it on one server. We do it on in a distributed manner. We do it in different places. And if you guys are very familiar with fintech, you would know that we cannot take the data, the financial data out of a country which is related to the citizen of that country without permission. So most of our intelligence need to be distributed in various regions. So blockchain and AI have really enabled us to do this one. So coming back to how we have done this in this project. So basically, Dukkha is a small shop, like a small store where you can buy your day-to-day needs. And this one is not a supermarket. It's just a small shop where the owner is usually the operator. He goes, he buys the stock for his week. He sells the stock, goes back the next week. He buys the next week's stock and does it like that. And most of the times what happens with these guys is they're short of cash because they cannot, they wouldn't, there'll be an overspill of the supplies for the last week, or one particular supply which they require is not available at that time, but there is a surplus of other supply which they don't need it at the moment. So to help these kind of people, we have come up with supply chain lending, meaning that whenever this guy wants to buy supplies, we help him, we lend money to him so that he can buy the supplies and he can go forward with his business for that week. So when we were doing this, this company, Hull Capital, has been in operation since a year or so. And they work like a cooperative society or a microfinance institution where you have small branches in different towns, and where people come, go to the branch, they register themselves, they request for lending, and they take it forward from there. But the challenges they were facing is, one, they couldn't onboard people very quickly because it's a manual way of onboarding. Also, their KYC takes about 2 to 3 days. And since it's a Islamic fintech, you need to understand that normal fintech lending is very simple. You come to me and you tell me that, okay, I need $100. I give you $100, I lend you $100. But in Islamic lending, excuse me, you cannot directly lend money. So what I need to do is, say, for instance, Mr. Chal comes to me and says that, Charan, I need $100. Then I need to actually buy some good, give it to Mr. Charles. And if Charles says, no, I don't want this goods, I want the money, then I have to sell back the good and then give him the money. I can directly not give him the money. So this process takes a lot of time. So it takes about 48 hours because you need to buy a commodity and sell a commodity. 48 hours, 72 hours, sometimes a week. So we introduced a system where all this thing can be done in few milliseconds. So in 1 year, Hull Capital had active users of 300 in the whole year, meaning roughly, I would say about 1 user a day. But when we launched the system, within the first week, we had 4,000 users. So now to open a branch, they used to take about 3 months. Now they take about 3 minutes to open a new branch in Kenya and in Nigeria. So this is the speed and the amount of reduction of costs, operation costs, and the intelligence we bring into in terms of understanding like the customer behavior, giving him a credit score, because these are developing nations and they don't have a proper way of keeping credit score. So we need to improvise on that, and we need to come up with our own way of monitoring those people and hoping their good behavior in this sense. So in this way, we have taken AI and put it onto the blockchain. And this AI, which is written within on-chain codes, is being distributed in various places. So the load on a single server is really, really low, and it's distributed. So every distributed server will supply intelligence and work on people who are from that area. That hugely reduces the cost and hugely reduces our hugely reduces the load on the centralized systems. So in that way, this has been a really good experiment for us in terms of bringing AI and blockchain together. And this has helped us to look forward to understand more and do more in this area. And especially now the next product we are working is where AI, blockchain, and IoT will be put together for one supply chain system, which is coming soon by first quarter of next year. So I think in view of the time, I'll just reduce my talk till here. So I'll take the questions further after this. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sri Charan, for a very insightful of your solution and your application using blockchain to create a product like an Islamic product in a very big market like Kenya. Kenya is very famous for being implemented the first mobile banking system in the world. And today they are still the best case study of digitalization of the FinTech. So the M-Pesa, I used when I was in Citibank, we were trying to implement a mobile banking system. Okay. So yes, Kenya is the good place. And in the interest of time, we now like to introduce the fifth speaker. The fifth speaker has more than 27 years experience and expertise in financial services, regulatory compliance, and litigation. He draws upon his previous regulatory experience as the head of the Market Conduct Policy Division of the Monetary Authority of Singapore, which is the central bank. His compliance background as the head of compliance for Southeast Asia at Lehman Brothers and Morgan Stanley. He has a legal background as a deputy public prosecutor, a state counsel at the Commercial Affairs Department, and the senior legal counsel at Citigroup or Citibank to assist global financial institutions, FinTech companies, corporate clients with various legal and regulatory compliance issues. He's the founding chairman of the Regulatory and Compliance Subcommittee of the Blockchain Association of Singapore. He is also a fellow at the Singapore University of Social Studies, where he focuses on compliance, FinTech, and cryptocurrency regulation. He has spoken at hundreds of seminars and events on regulatory compliance topics. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the CEO and founder of Ethicom Consultancy, a compliance-focused consultancy company in Singapore, Mr. Nizam Ismail.
Thank you very much, Charles, for a very kind introduction. And it's my pleasure to be here. Thank you, MyFinB, for the kind invite to be here. So as Charles has introduced myself, my DNA is more of a regulatory and compliance person, but I've had the pleasure of working with a lot of blockchain focused projects over the last few years. And so what I will attempt to do is, to talk about the broader issue. What is the relationship between AI and blockchain, or what can be the relationship or synergy between blockchain and AI in the context of the blockchain, and in particular focusing on financial services, which is the area that I'm most familiar with. Now, let me just start with the whole concept of DeFi, which some of you may have heard about this as a new buzzword, which stands for decentralized finance. So you've heard from various speakers on the use of the blockchain for various applications. And I think financial services is one of the big fans of the blockchain. The whole concept of DeFi is really to disrupt conventional financial services as you and I know it. It could be banks, broker-dealers, fund managers, insurance companies. So the whole idea is that can we use the blockchain to do things like disintermediate, remove the intermediary in itself, because that create inefficiencies, that create costs for the consumers. Can we make it more customer-centric? And largely it leverages on the beautiful things that we like about the blockchain that you've heard from the previous panelists. Immutability, it is a software of trust. And the other interesting thing about DeFi projects is that there's a lot of use on algos, in particular, algorithms, rather than human beings. So where we can automate some of these using smart contracts, why not? So the use of algos has been one key feature of a lot of decentralized or DeFi projects. What are some of the use cases that we see for the blockchain? You might have heard some of the other speakers mention this, right? Let's start with my favorite one, which is tokenized securities. Now, in the past, you know, if you buy a stock on the Singapore Exchange, SGX, or Bursa Malaysia, wherever you are, it goes, the securities will be custodized by a central depository. Settlement could take, you know, in the good old days, T plus 5 days. T plus 5 days to settle your stock. You buy a stock, you only get in 5 days. Now it's down to T plus 3, which is an achievement, but still it's not that efficient. And then when you place an order, you can't place it directly on the exchange. You have to go through a broker dealer, and that creates costs to the investor because you have to pay broker dealer charges. So there are layers and layers of inefficiency. Now, in a perfect world of you know, a tokenized security environment, the blockchain beautifully does settlement in theory almost instantaneously. So you remove settlement time. There are also lots of exchanges. They are coming up, tokenized securities exchanges, certainly in Singapore, where you can directly trade on the exchange, removing the need for the broker dealer. So it's a lot more efficient. So that's one. And you can also tokenize other things, commodities. So we've seen lots of gold tokens being issued, some of them Sharia compliant. They can also be intangible commodities, like carbon credits, for instance, or other forms of commodities which are intangible. So that's another use case of the blockchain within financial services. Next, investment funds. Some of the DeFi projects actually remove the actual manager, the human being that makes the allocating or the investment decisions. So here, you replace it with algorithms, which decide the strategies and actually executes the allocation of, you know, pool assets into specific investments. Then we spoke, I mentioned exchanges previously. So tokenized exchanges are here to disrupt conventional stock exchanges. So we see lots of tokenized exchanges appearing all across the world. There's quite a few in Singapore. Some of these are, you know, trading securities. Some have multi-assets capability, so that there are tokenized funds now being traded on exchanges. There are tokenized commodities, real estate, so you can trade it on these exchanges as well. So, you know, there are exchanges allowing fractional ownership of large assets, which were previously unattainable by a lot of investors. Derivatives is yet another use case in the blockchain space, or the blockchain application for financial services. I think the first panelist talked about central bank issued currency, or CBDCs. Blockchain is used as a medium of exchange. Unfortunately, Bitcoin is not a great use for medium of exchange because it's just too volatile, right? So there's been lots of new entrants, stable coins, whether it's pegged against national currency, and there are some coins which are now issued by central banks themselves. I think we heard about China, Cambodia being two examples. In Singapore, the MAS, the Monetary Authority of Singapore, has actually issued a $1 coin, but it's not meant for retail use. So it's meant for interbank settlements. And then deposits. There are platforms out there which functions very closely to banks. So if you have a cryptocurrency, you deposit with the intermediary, and you get a return by placing it there. So it functions like banks. And I think the lines between conventional financial services and the DeFi space will blur, and there will be some form of convergence going forward. Insurance is yet another use case. You can create mutual insurance structures, leveraging on the blockchain to facilitate things like claims. Okay, so that's just some examples. And so the question is, where does AI fit into all these, right? In the DeFi space, in alternative finance. And remember, it is an alternate universe in itself because of the many applications. So when you talk about DeFi, it's not just one use, but it's an entire universe. So now if the position is that AI can be relevant in conventional financial services, and there are many use cases for AI in conventional financial services, I would argue that there's even a more compelling case for the use of AI in the decentralized finance space. So our panelist from Finterra has set out many use cases of AI in Finterra, whom I had the pleasure of working with previously, and I think it's a great thing. So coming back to this alternate universe of DeFi, what can we use AI for? It's very possible, and in fact, there is a platform in Hong Kong that uses AI in derivatives trading as a form of risk mitigation. So that's a real use case. In relation to tokenized securities, in as much as you use algos to trade in conventional securities. So I used to be in investment banks, and algo trading was very, very commonly used. You can do so for tokenized securities as well. In the space of fund management or investment management, there is definitely a use case for AI to decide on investment strategies and execution, as I mentioned earlier. For insurance, you can use AI, all these big data feeds to actually help, in theory, real-time premium pricing for insurance, taking into account various factors like the incidence of calamities or even claims being made. And obviously, when you have a structure that pools cryptocurrencies and functions like a pseudo bank, obviously AI is very relevant to help enhance yield, or whether it's meant for staking or deposit taking. So the big picture is this: it's a very exciting space when you marry AI and the blockchain, and that could create real value for you and I, the human beings in this space. But the thing about financial services is this: that the reality is that it's the most heavily regulated industry in the world. And that's something I'm very sensitized to because of my previous role as a regulator, and right now advising clients on regulatory compliance issues. So for a DeFi platform, you need to think about whether the underlying economics are regulated in the jurisdiction that you operate in. What kind of licenses you need. So even if something is not regulated today, could it be regulated sometime down the road? And the space is very much quickly evolving. And what kind of compliance or risk management framework you need to put in place, clearly for DeFi projects. And even if you're not regulated, are there compliance issues? And then if you do issue tokens, which is the case in the DeFi space, or even not in the DeFi space, people still do issue tokens. You need to ask whether these are considered digital payment tokens, whether they're securities. I think some jurisdictions treat even Bitcoin as securities, which I think is not the correct approach. Whether these are treated as commodities. In some instances, cryptocurrencies are regulated by the commodities regulators, and whether the issuance platform needs licensing. So these are some of the things to consider. In Singapore space, and I'm familiar with, we have seen a lot of regulatory developments in the cryptocurrency or the blockchain space. I think a lot of these give a lot of clarity. For instance, in relation to the regulatory treatment of digital token offerings, it gives clarity on tokenized securities. We have seen lots of these happening in Singapore. There's some good initiatives like Sandbox, which I'm going to talk about in a bit. The clarity on the regulatory treatment of stable coins. Right now, if you're a cryptocurrency exchange, you need to be regulated and licensed under the Payment Services Act. So we've done quite a bit of licensing and compliance setup for crypto exchanges, and so on and so forth. So this is a constantly evolving space. Going forward, there will be new changes that will also regulate cryptocurrency activities outside of Singapore if they are done by players within Singapore. So it's a very busy space for regulators. And in terms of how regulators should look at DeFi projects, I think if I may just put up this image. This is taken from the FinTech Festival, taken about, I think, 3 years ago. By the way, the Singapore FinTech Festival is happening in a couple of days' time, so do look out for it. We are part of it and proud to be part of it. So this is Ravi Menon. He's the MD of MAS, and he said this, and I think this is very, it's a simple concept, but I think it's very important and powerful. He says that while on the one hand, regulation cannot front-run innovation, because it's not possible to do so. You can't second guess when something new comes to the market. But he said this: the regulator must run alongside innovation, meaning that you need to keep tabs on what's going on out there, have that regular dialogue with participants, understand the risks. And when you introduce new regulations, okay, of course you consult, but also make it a risk-focused approach. Don't kill the baby with the bathwater when you throw out the bathwater. So there's an element of proportionality that's important. And the last bullet point, he actually said this: we must let 1,000 flowers bloom, but there was an important caveat that it must be a garden. So yeah, so that's the philosophy of the MES. Of course, we can argue whether some of these philosophy are, you know, really implemented. I think quite a good part of it, of the new regulations, actually imbibe these philosophy. And next, on sandboxes, I mentioned this earlier on. So the sandbox is an important tool to balance the competing considerations of innovation on the one hand and regulatory considerations on the other. We have seen the sandbox being introduced in a lot of jurisdictions, even in Southeast Asia, and they're a wonderful way of balancing innovation against regulatory considerations. So this is an important development. And I hope that the industry leverages on these platforms to bring about, you know, value for the broader community. So with that, I end my presentation and I hand you back over to Charles.
Thank you, Nizam. Thank you for sharing such a great experience, personal, professional experience, your expertise in building a very progressive industry of blockchain, and also dealing with regulators is something that everybody's agenda. If anybody wants to do blockchain and cryptocurrency or DeFi or decentralized exchange, I think this is such a new industry and everybody's looking and everybody's trying to learn something. But I think Nizam has the advantage and also the privilege as a regulator. He has all this exposure from various people around the world coming to Singapore. Thank you for sharing this personal experience with us, and we all benefit. I enjoy your talk, and we are almost time's up now. We don't have time to answer questions.
Charles, yeah, we will have another 15 minutes for the Q&A sessions. You can carry on with the Q&A.
Okay,
Thank you.
We have 15 minutes. I saw that there are 3 people who asked different questions, and one of them is, let me just read out, see if we can answer. Okay, the first question was already answered by Li Ming. Li Ming has answered this, so shall we skip this? Finalists, you have seen the questions on the chat group, on the chat board.
Yep.
Okay. There's one that's asked about, are these services and assets as proposed by FinTech all legit? Because many of these items are regulated items in many countries, and they seem to have a super app that allows issuance of all kinds. I think Sri Chan has already answered this. Then we have one for Nizam. Can you give the links to the fractional assets exchange you mentioned?
I was just about to type the answer. I mean, there are quite a few exchanges. Quite a few have gone live. In Singapore, we've got iStocks is one. We were privileged to help them in the sandbox application. And then we also have CapBridge. I can't remember the name of the exchange. And now Funnel has got an exchange called HG, which I think is in the sandbox. There are others which have announced their intention to provide fractional ownership or trading of fractional assets or ownership in real estate. So you can just look it up. I think the company is called Investor Crowd, and they have announced an exchange or that they plan to set up.
Mm-hmm. Yes, indeed, this is getting very exciting. And one of my personal experience is that there is a lot of activities coming to Singapore because Singapore has positioned themselves as the global capital of the world. Where the last Singapore FinTech Festival, we saw that there are 47,000 people who registered and signed up. So hopefully this time we are doing it on the virtual event. Maybe the number of people sign up is going to be even bigger. But I think that aside, but more importantly is that we saw that a lot of fintech companies trying to do blockchain and cryptocurrency, and which the central bank or MAS is supporting. But a lot of people that I talk to has this challenge, because the minute they go to the bank, and the bank, then they wanted to open a bank account, the bank refused to open the bank account. Some even get the accounts closed. And until to the extent that the central bank, the managing director of the central bank or MAS in Singapore, Mr. Ravi Menon, says, if you have a problem, please come to me and I'll try to help you. And perhaps this could be something that we can share a personal view and experience, that yes, Singapore promotes this new industry, but what is your take when it comes to dealing with banks, because you need bank account to do business?
Let me kick off. I think it's an issue that I personally feel strongly about, and I actually have spoken to the MES a few times about this. I think it is important for financial inclusion purposes that crypto exchanges are afforded the same ability to open bank accounts as other businesses are. Now, there are also in the non-crypto world, there are lots of intermediaries which are also deemed to be higher risk. For instance, if I have a remittance business, or if I have a fund management business, you know, behind the intermediary, there could be thousands or tens of thousands customers, and that creates money laundering risks. Now, it might be unfair to single out cryptocurrency exchanges, because remember this, that you will be I've gone on record to say this, and I say it again: you must be an idiot to want to launder your money using cryptocurrencies like Bitcoins or Ethereum. I mean, of course, let's put aside privacy coins to one side first, because there is a complete audit trail of your laundering efforts, and law enforcement has actually been successful in prosecuting people who launder money through using cryptocurrencies, or Bitcoins in particular. So this makes cryptocurrencies something that is really not great for money laundering. Now, if the concern is money laundering, then please ensure that the cryptocurrency exchanges have got robust money laundering framework. And in truth, when you look at, certainly in the case for Singapore, for the MES notice for cryptocurrency exchanges is actually a lot more extensive and a lot more prescriptive compared to, say, AML notices for conventional financial services. Because there are things that cryptocurrency exchanges need to do, like abide by the travel rule, share information on the sender or beneficiary of cryptos. You need to do wallet screenings to make sure that the cryptos do not come from criminal sources. So all this is already being done, and I think banks need to be fair. That really is quite key, because even the Financial Action Task Force, which is the global AML watchdog, has said that they frown upon financial exclusion or de-risking by the banks, because that will drive everything underground. So it's important that cryptocurrency exchanges are treated fairly, because it actually is in the broader interest that they have proper access to bank accounts.
Yeah, thank you for that insight. Something that I do agree with you. When I work in the bank, we always talk about AML compliance. We talk about regulatory compliance, and actually in today's world, the bank should open up and be more inclusive, because they, instead of seeing blockchain as a threat or cryptocurrency as a threat, and also seeing that they are competitors, just a matter of time. They have to do it. If they don't do it, they'll be gone. It's just like 2 years ago, I was in the Islamic Bankers Conference in Malaysia 4 years ago, and we have the senior vice president at the time of Tencent Group. He was telling a group of Islamic bankers, he said, the bankers, you must embrace new technology like AI and blockchain. If you don't embrace new technology, one day you'll be gone, and you'll be gone, and you'll be dead by 1,000 cuts. Because today more and more players are coming into the picture. They are coming to the market without you knowing it. And right after the conference, and as I was walking out of the conference at the Central Bank of Malaysia, and I overheard two senior bankers, both of them are CEOs. And they say, yeah, you know what? You know, when everybody, there are a lot of smaller companies doing things that the bank should be doing, but the banks are not doing. And there we are every year, year on year, we will attend the same conference and looking at each other, asking the same question. Have you done it? Have you implemented blockchain? Have you implemented crypto? And you know, we can continue to sit here and talk, but before we know it, our job will be gone, the bank will be gone, the business is gone. So I feel very strongly about this, and technology is the way to go, and there's no two ways about it.
I'll just want to add a little bit to Nizam, and thanks, Nizam. I didn't initially look at you. You were there in the call, and Nizam has been really helpful for us for FinTech since the beginning. He was the one who first issued us our utility token. What do you call that, Nizam? The sheet you gave us for opening
White paper.
Yeah, white paper.
Or the audio.
No, not the white paper. The
legal opinion.
Sorry.
The opinion.
Yeah,
the legal opinion.
So basically, when we were using that opinion, and in the future, in 2018 and 2019, when we approached the banks, the biggest problem is the nature of business. Banks don't have a set rule to bring a utility token, even for that matter, a security token, into their way of doing things. So their biggest concern is, fine, someone puts money into your account. What happens if they want to charge back for some reason? And how do we handle that? What are the steps to handle that? So I think at the moment, the bank's rules and regulations don't support it so well. That is the reason every other company which approaches us, we have a problem opening a bank account. 3 months, 6 months, it goes on to get a bank account. But there are companies like PayPal, and those guys have literally shut them down. They don't even talk about any cryptocurrency company to have a PayPal account. So I think the problem is more about reiterating the rules and regulations, what is allowed and what are the KYC rules to give a bank account and so forth. If that is sorted out, I think banks don't have a major problem with cryptocurrencies, particularly, as much as they have something with like a remittance company or something like that. But the rules are not there. I think that is the problem. There is no set path for them to follow. I think that's, in my opinion, is the biggest problem they're facing.
So, Charles, just to add into this point, since we are basically a cryptocurrency exchange operator for the last 2 to 3 years, we have gone through the same phase of banks closing down the account, issuing managers check, not only in Singapore but in other jurisdictions which we are operating as well. So then this actually formed up a new tower of supplementary banking system which is fully regulated. So these days, there are FCA regulated or FINMA regulated FinTech companies which is acting as a digital bank, and their major customers are basically cryptocurrency exchanges, and they're issuing Visa on Bitcoin backend, etc. The base currency is moved from US dollar to Bitcoin as well. So there are opportunities available, but yes, so this is again, I consider as the digital revolution happening, a parallel banking system which is forming up to support these unbanked so-called cryptocurrency exchanges or the operators.
Thank you.
Yeah, let me
Thank
add to it. Yeah, I do have the experience before, because when we run the FinTech operation in China, as you mentioned, that all the digital bank, whether it's Tencent digital banks, they are actually taking on a lot of the account opening for us. But unfortunately, when the regulators step in toward the tail end of where they want to regulate the FinTech industry, and either happen or even the digital bank have to comply with all those requirements from the central bank where they want to regulate, FinTech company. So it's a similar challenge, even though traditional bank doesn't take on your account, but at the later stage, we also see the regulatory actually going to be heavy-handedly, look into how to actually regulate all those FinTech player. So I guess it's like, maybe like Nizam mentioned that, area like DeFi space may be an opportunity for us to look into way to mitigate or lighten up some of these things. Right? So that's some take, just like experience with taught before. Even though we have digital bank coming along, be able to offer different type of account opening and so forth. But I guess at the end of the day, regulatory still will come in to regulate it somehow. Okay.
Thank you. And last one, we have Arijit. You want to say something before we close up the meeting for the day?
Well, I think it's a small understanding from my part. If I look at the bank's perspective, they need more regulation because they need to give a reply to their own customers. So I think enhancing customers' point of view is one point. Second is how they will invest that money and move the stock balance in a proper structured way with all the regulations. That's where I think banks do have a lot of question. But if I look at the global banks, they are practically enhancing and updating their internal banking system with a lot of technology in the back end. Even we have worked with one of the Indian bank who practically used a gamified solution to enhance and uplift the internal process as well as the internal mechanism, which actually give them an enabled process of understanding the blockchain technology and then utilize the same. Even I have seen in my life, like I can probably give one example of one of the European bank from one country. They are utilizing face recognition for giving smart payments, and they are not issuing any kind of so-called plastic card. Rather, it is being issued on your own retina scanning system and thumb impression. So both are actually combined all together. So things are happening, and it's really I think within 2021 or maybe within next 5 years, we can see a lot of revolution that is coming up. And I firmly believe that that's going to help a lot regarding all those, if I'm not wrong, all those crypto exchanges as well as all those rules and regulations. That's what I firmly believe.
Yeah, thank you so much for all your feedbacks and your view.